Willingham, and I'm sitting here with Forrest Alton, and he's going to tell us a little bit about a conference that's coming up in September. How are you today, Forrest?
I'm great. It's nice to see you.
Good to see you too. Do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and who you work with?
Sure. My name is Forrest Alton, as you said. I'm the president of 1,000 Feathers, LLC. We're a boutique consulting firm. We do a lot of work with nonprofits and in the social service sector. Also recently just became the board chair of Together SC, South Carolina's sort of convening body for nonprofits. So it's an area and a space that I have some familiarity with. Just coming off a career as the CEO of the South Carolina Campaign to Prevent Teen Pregnancy, and now sort of moving into this consulting space and taking a view of the nonprofit sector from a little different angle.
Awesome, good for you. So I know in September you've got a conference coming up. So what exactly is going on? What have you been working on?
Well, we're going to be working with Venture Carolina. So our firm and Venture Carolina have come together. This is an idea we've been bouncing back and forth and sort of noodling on for a year or more to talk about how to bring together the nonprofit sectors with the private investment sector here in South Carolina. The conference is titled Taking the Non Out of Nonprofit. It's going to be September 13th here in Columbia. It's a day-long event. We're utilizing the My Carolina Alumni Center as the venue. And our hope is to fill the room with thought leaders from the nonprofit sector, the social service sector, and also thought leaders and innovators and entrepreneurs from the investment side of the house. Put those people in a room together, populate the conference with some good speakers and some good thought leaders, let people have some conversations and see where the day goes. But we're very excited about it.
That sounds awesome. So what all is going to take place on the day of the event?
Well, again, our idea is for this to be more of a gathering and convening, an opportunity for people to interact more than your traditional training, right? So we do have a keynote speaker. We've just secured one of the communications VPs from Blackbaud to be our keynote speaker. We're very excited about that. We have 2 or 3 panels that are assembled. One panel of investment thought leaders, one panel of social service sector thought leaders, bringing them together, again, just to sort of prime the pump, right? The idea of the panel presentation is not to provide answers, but to really generate and stimulate thought. And then over lunch, we are going to have sort of table captains, a selected group of entrepreneurs and innovators from around the state. We're going to be table captains and lead dialogue and discussion based on what people heard in the morning sessions. So again, a really interactive day, a chance for people to sort of roll up their sleeves, think about this conversation in a little different way.
Right.
Again, the title of the day-long symposium here, Taking the Non Out of Nonprofit, is really sort of meant to be a stimulating conversation to sort of change the game here.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that the sector understands that it's really time for them to start thinking in a more innovative, entrepreneurial way, to start thinking more like a business, if you will. To understand that certainly nonprofit is a tax status, but doesn't have to define your actions, and that it's still very appropriate, especially in the climate we're in now, to be thinking about how to diversify your revenue streams, be thinking about how to generate income, be thinking about how to promote and push forward your good ideas. All of those things sort of come to a head with this day-long conference. At the same time, it's a really, really unique opportunity to showcase the power of the nonprofit sector to a room full of private investors. It's a room full of people they don't often get to speak to and interact with, right?
So I hear that you guys are doing an innovation challenge.
We are. We're very excited about this. This is a Shark Tank-like, right, with all appropriate trademarks and things.
Right.
A Shark Tank-like event. We're offering nonprofits, those who are registered for the conference, the opportunity to submit in writing right now their sort of good idea, their entrepreneurial, profitable idea. We expect a number of applicants. Will screen those down to the top 4 or 5, and those organizations will have a chance on the day of the conference to present their pitch to a panel of investors. And the investors will choose one winner, I suppose, for lack of a better word,
Right.
the day of the conference, and the winner will leave with a $5,000 check to seed their idea. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's a really neat opportunity, and we're talking about a real prize here, right? It's a little bit more than a pat on the back. So
Right.
we're going to seed fund at least one person's good idea as they leave the conference, and we hope what we're ultimately trying to achieve is that this is the beginning of a much larger dialogue
Yes.
between the investment community and the social service nonprofit sector. We're not trying to mislead anyone to say this one-day conference will provide all the answers you've ever needed
Right.
to generate revenue for your idea, but we do think it's going to be a really nice start to a larger, longer conversation.
So to clarify, this is a contest that they can enter that day. It's for already existing nonprofits who want to expand what they're doing right now.
That's right. That's exactly right. In some way and some idea that they have to generate income and generate revenue. Right? That's the ultimate idea of the day here, is to try to figure out how to get nonprofits sort of in the mindset of generating their own revenue.
Very cool.
And we certainly are hearing from funders. We're seeing signs in Washington. We're sort of reading the tea leaves, right, that it's time for the sector to really start being a little more creative about how to fund their ideas and about how to generate revenue, and sort of this reliance on grant funding, whether that's coming from the feds or from the state or from private sources. It's supported the sector very well in the past, and likely will support the sector, at least in part, moving forward.
Right.
But it wouldn't hurt any of us to be a little bit more thoughtful and a little bit more diverse about our funding stream.
Okay. So beyond the innovation challenge, what are some of the other advantages for nonprofits to attend this conference?
Well, I think certainly the interaction, both with a room full of thought leaders, but also a room full of people they might not traditionally interact with, right? We fully expect our registration list will be populated with private investors, with funders, with grant makers, with nonprofit leaders. And by nonprofit leaders, we certainly mean those who by title, a CEO or executive director or program director, but also board members. And so many of us, in one way or another, come into contact with the nonprofit sector. Either we're board members, or we're donors or investors ourselves, we're in leadership positions, right? So we expect a really diverse crowd in the room, and I think that is one of the advantages. It's important for us to be sort of surrounding ourselves with people that don't always look and think like we do.
Right.
And I think that's probably one of the main advantages of this day-long event, is we expect a lot of different faces and a lot of different ideas and different brains in the room.
Yeah.
It's, we hope, not the same 20 or 30 people coming together yet again to have the same old conversation, right? This is an opportunity for us to push the envelope, push out some new information and ideas. And quite frankly, one of the reasons that's exciting to me personally is it really is part of the value system of our firm, of 1,000 Feathers, the firm that my wife Heather Brand and I put together about a year ago. And it really is one of our strong beliefs that our responsibility is to push out information, identify new topics, identify new content, and get that out into space, get people thinking differently. That as a consulting firm, our responsibility isn't to just sit back and wait for the phone to ring with the next client.
Right.
Our responsibility is to push things out too. We think this is an innovative idea. We're thrilled to have Venture Carolina as a partner. There has been a lot of energy around this conversation since we've started sort of, this sort of slow trickle out of information about the conference. People have been very excited, very positive.
Awesome.
We're finalizing our speaker list, we're finalizing our sponsors, but we're very excited, and it's shaping up to be a great day.
Great. I think it's interesting that you have called them investors too, instead of donors or funders.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that sort of towards the end of my tenure running a nonprofit became very important to us. And some people would think it's just a semantics issue, but it's more than that. It's really about an attitude, right? And
Right.
that attitude change is for those in the nonprofit social sector to understand that we are constantly on the search for investors. People who want to make an investment in our organizations, in our ideas, in our programs. This is not just, this is a very busy island, but making the pivot from sort of crawling around on our hands and knees looking for the next donation.
Exactly.
Right? That's a word that's sort of synonymous with the nonprofit sector. Where are we going to get the next donation? Who's going to write the next check?
Exactly.
As opposed to some sort of very strategic focus and strategic energy around who can we find to make an investment in us, in our organizations, in our ideas, in our programs and products. And that really is what this day is about, taking the non out of nonprofit. It's looking for investments, just like an entrepreneur would do, just like a startup would do, a small business would do. Talking about that sector, right, the entrepreneurial small business startup sector, they are always on the search for investors, for their new ideas. In the nonprofit sector, we come up with new ideas and say, boy, I hope we can generate some donations here, right?
Exactly.
Why aren't we out looking for investments too? We hope this day will be the start to that new conversation.
That's a really innovative way of thinking about it too.
Well, I hope that you and hundreds of other people think that and will join us on September 13th.
Yeah. So for people that want to join you, what information should they know about how to sign up?
Well, they should certainly check out venturecarolina.org/events or just venturecarolina.org and you can find the events page. That's where all the information is about the conference, our full speaker lineup. We're populating the agenda as we speak. As I said earlier, you can find out information there about the Innovation Challenge, but that's where everything is, venturecarolina.org. We're thrilled to have Venture Carolina as our partner in this effort. Working with Charlie Banks and his team is always a good thing to do. Again, another thought leader in the field. People can also reach out to me directly if they have questions. I'm at Forrest, Forrest, at 1000feathers.com. That's my email address, and I'd be happy to entertain questions or comments people have. But venturecarolina.org is where to register, where to learn about speakers, where to sign up for the Innovation Challenge. That's home base for everything that's happening.
Great. Well, thank you so much for telling me more about this today. Again, this is Forrest Alton, and on September 13th.
September 13th.